Do you buy seeds or do you buy seedlings? Today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of either. G'day there, I'm Dana from Fantail Valley Homestead, and it is finally the day that I have a chance to get out and plant my tomato seedlings. Now it is the middle of winter here, and I do have a heated table that I'm going to be putting them on, but I thought while we were at it I would talk to you about the pluses and the minuses of raising plants either from seeds or buying seedlings at the store. Now while I'm talking to you, I have my handy dandy little helper down there. She is loading up some seed trays ready for me. Now there are some real merits to growing things from seed, and there are some real downsides to growing things from seed, and personally we choose to grow a lot of our plants from seed. But honestly, that mostly stems from the fact that it is cheaper, and so when I very first started gardening, that was what I needed, was the cheap option. That's why I started gardening, was because we had very little money, and so for me, being able to buy a packet of between 50 and 200 seeds for $2 or $3 versus buying 6 plant starts for the same $2 or $3, it just made more sense to me to find out how to grow my own plants from seed. Now the upside to growing from seed is you get so much more range. You can select heritage or heirloom varieties so that you can save your own. They're cheaper, and plants that you grow from seed yourself are more likely to be better adapted to your own personal home environment and the climate and the amount of water you naturally get around to giving them, which in our case is they either get forgotten or they get completely soggy apparently. But the downside to growing from seed is they do take much longer from the day you sow them to the day you actually get a harvest. On the back of most packets that you get, you'll get 2 different time frames. One is usually a number of days until germination, and the other is days till maturity. But that days to maturity is not from when you sow the seeds, it's from when you plant them out as transplants. So it's a little confusing, and there is sort of 4 to 6 weeks in some cases missing out of those dates. Now I'm going to be super careful this time to make sure that I label them properly. If you watched a few of my videos, you'll know that I accidentally completely mislabeled my tomatoes last year, and it meant that I pruned the determinate ones and the indeterminate ones incorrectly and got a really poor harvest compared to what I should have actually got. So I'm going to be really careful to label them properly, and hopefully this video will also help remind me which row I put them in. Now the upside to growing from starts, or it's a little confusing, there's multiple words. There's transplant, starts and seedlings, and honestly they all mean the same thing. What they mean is the plants that you buy in these sorts of trays from the store, and they're usually 4 to 6 inches high. That's a plant start, transplant, seedling, all the same thing really. The upside to growing them from those is, 1, they're already 4 to 6 weeks ahead. 2, you know that they're going to be disease resistant, usually quite robust plants. And 3, the hard work's already done for you. So you're not having to baby them along from seed. You're not having to keep them in a climate controlled environment. You're not having to remember to water them once or twice a day just to keep that moisture up. There's so many benefits to using seedlings. The only downside really is that they're more expensive and the range of choice you have is quite a bit smaller. Also, some plants just don't transplant well, so any of your root crops are unlikely to be able to be transplanted easily, particularly ones with really long roots that they throw the roots down really early. So carrots and parsnip are both really difficult to transplant. Radishes aren't great at transplanting simply because they just grow so fast. You're much better off growing those sorts of root crops straight in the ground without starting them in trays at all, and definitely not buying transplants of them. Plants that you want to direct sow or definitely want to grow from seed are all your root crops. So carrots, parsnip, radish, turnips, rutabagas or swede or Swedish turnips, however you want to call them. And you can start beetroot or beets in trays like this. but they do actually grow better if you can start them as seeds straight into your garden. Other ones that do really well direct planted are your cucurbits, so they are your pumpkins, zucchinis, squash, cucumbers, gherkins, those sorts of things. The other thing that does better direct sown, if you can keep the mice from eating them and if you can keep the birds from digging them up, are beans, peas and corn. They all will grow more robustly if you can grow them directly in the ground from seed. Plants that are more commonly grown as starts are your leafy greens, particularly brassicas like Brussels sprouts, collard greens, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, lettuce, those leafy spinach, although spinach does grow relatively quickly from seed. Celery and celeriac, again, are usually sown into trays first and then transplanted out into the garden. The main ones that are definitely, like 99% of the time, are definitely grown in trays first are the ones that need it to be really hot. They're the sort of fussier plants. They need the soil to be around 18 to 20 degrees Celsius before they'll even germinate. And they are the ones that we love the most. Tomatoes, capsicums, peppers, eggplants and tomatillos. So that's what I'm planting in here today, and I will turn on the heated table which will heat the soil up and they will be able to get going in here despite it actually being basically outside and still winter. Previous to that, I have always grown these inside in winter time just to get them going. No real right or wrong way. If you're brand new to gardening, I thoroughly recommend you just clear yourself some space, buy yourself some seedlings of some varieties of plants that you're going to eat. And usually speaking, the stuff that the store sells near you is stuff that will grow outside at the right time within reason. Most places will stock appropriate plants at the right time. They don't want you to fail, they want you to come back and buy more. So they want you to have a good experience growing your first lot of plants. So clear a space of weeds, loosen up the soil, get yourself some transplants and get them in the ground. Follow the instructions on the back of the ticket. Hang on, I just need to move a tray for Chloe. Follow the instructions on the back of the packet or on the back of the ticket. Most of them will tell you how far apart to plant them, what sort of shade versus sun they need, how much shelter they need, and how long you can expect until you can get a harvest from them. If you're willing and game to give it a go, you can try and grow at least some things from seed. I have found that plants grown from seed are often a bit more robust. As you can see here, just turn you around. Can you see those broccoli plants there? Have grown so well. All I did was snuck the tiny little microscopic seeds in between my tomato plants that were growing along here, and this is what's happened, and we're getting massive heads of broccoli, not broccoli, that would be a miracle, massive heads of cauliflower off the cauliflower plants. So most of the things in here, the broccoli, the cauliflower were all from seeds. And you can see most of the other greens you can see in there were actually transplants that I bought from the store. So even an experienced, well-seasoned gardener will sometimes splash out and buy seedlings. So it's not cheating. It is really helpful. It is a quick way of getting some plants in the ground, especially if you desperately need food or if you have just suddenly decided that it might be fun to give gardening a go. I really encourage you just to give it a try. If you're new to gardening and you're not sure what you are doing and you don't know what to plant or when, I have put together a massive book just for you. It's 260 odd pages of what you need to be planting, when you need to be planting it, how to get a garden started, and a whole lot of other lessons that are really seasonally placed for you to learn along the way. It's super affordable. It's under $30, and if you want a hard copy of it, you can buy it through Amazon, and if you just want a PDF version, you can buy it through my website. I'll put those links in the description below for you. Now, with everything that's going on in the world at the moment and the impending food shortages that may well be coming for us, I honestly think growing your own food is one of the best things you can be doing. And learning to grow things from seed is probably one of the best skills that you could probably learn in your entire lifetime, because if you can grow your own food, then you won't be relying on anybody else for it. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, watch this video up here. It explains a little bit about what's going on and what you can do about it. Quickly, weirdo. Nothing? Okay. Why don't you just go wash them in the puddle at the gate. If you know anybody else that would like to get started growing their own food, I'd love it if you would share this information with them, and I will see you in the next one.